Hey everybody, this is Ramanel. Today I want to look at a little sermon illustration that I got off the internet. And this illustration is called Sharpen the Axe. And it says, once upon a time there were two woodcutters named Peter and John. They was often competing over who chopped the most wood. So one day they decided to hold a competition to determine the winner. And the rules were very simple. Whoever produced the most wood in a day wins. So the next morning both of them took up their positions in the forest and started chopping away at the fastest possible speed. This lasted for an hour before Peter suddenly stopped. When John realized that Peter had stopped, he thought, I'm winning. He must be tired already. He continued to cut down trees with double the pace. A quarter of an hour passed, and John heard the opponent chopping away again. So both of them carried on like this. John was starting to feel weary when the chopping from Peter's side stopped once again. Feeling motivated and feeling very close by, John continued with a smile on his face. This went on the whole day. Every hour, Peter would stop chopping for 15 minutes while John kept chopping and chopping without stopping. So when the competition ended, John thought and he was confident that he would win. To John's astonishment, Peter had actually cut down more wood than he did. How did this ever happen? And John asked Peter, how could you have chopped down more trees than me? I heard you stop working every hour for 15 minutes. And Peter said, well, it's really simple. Every time I stopped work while you were still chopping down trees, I was sharpening my axe. So Peter would stop and sharpen his axe, and John would just add it, add it, add it. And at the end of the competition, Peter won because he stopped and sharpened the axe. Ecclesiastes 10:10 say, if the axe is dull and one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength, but wisdom brings success. And if get a different version, which is a more like we taught today, it simply means using a dull axe. Using a dull axe requires great strength. So sharpen the blade. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. So it's saying that we got to be wise in the way we do things to get the best result. So wisdom helps you succeed like a sharp blade helps you cut down a tree. And sometimes wisdom beats out strength. And sometimes we put forth a lot of effort and get wore out and don't get the desired result we want or the result we should be. Sometimes we must ask ourselves, is there a better way we can do things, especially if we're doing things for God? So we got to keep our spiritual axe sharp, because serving God is supposed to be a blessing, not a burden. I'm going to say that one more time. We got to keep our spiritual axe sharp, because serving God is supposed to be a blessing and not a burden. And today I'm going to look at a very popular scripture, Mary and Martha, Luke 10:38. Now it happened as they went that he entered a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. So Jesus went into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha, she welcomed him into her house. So we see that this was Martha's house, which means she was a host, which means she wanted everything just right because Jesus was there. And ain't nothing wrong with wanting everything just right and everything in order because Jesus is there. Luke 10:39, and she had a sister called Mary, who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. So while Martha was busy making sure everything was right, Mary was sitting at Jesus' feet, listening to him speak. I would say Mary was sharpening her axe and Martha was trying to get things done. Like I say, wasn't nothing wrong with what Martha was doing because it was her house and she wanted everything right. But Mary, she just decided to sit down at Jesus' feet. And could you imagine the situation? Martha running here, running there, trying to make sure everything good. Then she see Mary just sitting there. In Martha's mind, Mary wasn't doing nothing. She was just sitting there listening to Jesus speak. And Martha was running around, being busy, making sure everything was right. Luke 10:40. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she approached him and said, Lord, Do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore tell her to help me. So Martha was distracted. I wonder what was she distracted from? She was putting forth a lot of effort and not getting the results she wanted. She was so upset that she went to Jesus and started to complain. Man, if we are complaining about serving God, we might need to sit at Jesus' feet and sharpen our axe, which means we might need to dig into our word. We might need to just realize why we do what we do. I mean, sometimes we don't get the result that we think we should, but we got to remember to keep our axe sharp, to always realize that we're serving God. And serving should be a blessing and not a burden. So let's look at what Martha actually said. First thing she asked is, First thing she asked the Lord is, do you not care? My sister had left me to do all the work. So sometimes we get distracted. We get doing stuff. You know, I used to hold a lot of positions in church. So we get to doing stuff. And sometimes we begin to feel like, I guess the best way I can describe it is sometimes we feel like we're overwhelmed. And sometimes we think, man, can't somebody else do some of this stuff? And, you know, if you start to feel like Jesus don't care or don't nobody care about the work you do, you might need to sharpen your axe, spiritual axe. You might need to sit at Jesus' feet, sit down, calm down, and think about why you do what you do. Now, the work is important, and the work need to be done. But like I said, Martha was distracted. What was Martha distracted from? Did she really forget what was really important? Have we ever got distracted and forgot the real purpose behind our service? The things we do for God, the things we do for church, the things we do for our fellow man? I don't know. But if you ever feel burdened and overwhelmed, you might need to just sit down, think about what you're doing, sharpen your axe, and make some wise decisions. So let's look what Jesus told Martha in Luke 10:41. And Jesus answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things. Martha was worried. Martha was troubled about a lot of things. I don't know if she had things on her mind before this night or if it all just built up in this night because she wanted to make sure everything was perfect. But her trying to make sure everything is perfect and her trying to do this for the Lord, she became worried and troubled. But guess what? Jesus didn't rebuke Mary because of what Martha said. In Luke 10:43, Jesus said, but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part which will not be taken away from her. So Jesus was basically saying that Mary made the right choice. Mary chose to sharpen her axe, and Mary was not worried or troubled. If Mary and Martha would have both chosen to sharpen their axe, the work probably could have been done half the time. You know, maybe it could have been done in half the time. Jesus didn't say, Martha, you was wrong for wanting to do the work, and Martha probably needed help with the work. Jesus said, Martha, you let the work overwhelm you. You're worried and burdened down. Mary is not overwhelmed, so I'm not going to take your burden and put it on Mary. Bring your burden to me. You know, cast all your cares upon Jesus because he cared for you. So Martha went to the right source, but she might not have got the answer she wanted, but she went to the right place when she went to Jesus. And Jesus said, Mary chose the good part, and that would not be taken from her. So what I'm trying to say in these few minutes is sharpen your axe, use wisdom, and the work will get done. Sharpen your axe, use wisdom, and the work will get done. If you ever feel like you're overwhelmed, and you're overburdened, and you're burdened down, take it to Jesus. And then Jesus might not tell you what you want to hear, but he's going to tell you what you need to hear. So Mary had chosen the good part, and Jesus didn't say, Mary, go help your sister. You know better than that. No, Jesus said, Mary made a conscious decision to come and hear my word. Mary made a conscious decision to sharpen her axe, to sit at my feet, to learn my teaching. Now, we know this work must be done, but you are worried and you are troubled, and Mary is at peace. So don't put your burden on other people. If you're feeling trouble and overwhelmed, take it to Jesus. Talk to your pastor. Talk to your spiritual leader. Explain how you feel and use wisdom. Use wisdom. Before you let it get to be a burden, use wisdom. Take time out to study and read. Take time out to sharpen your axe. Take time out to remember why you do the things you do. And I hope you're doing it for the Lord. Y'all be blessed. And remember, keep that axe sharp.